Welcome to the Caddo Convos, the podcast that explores the vibrant community of businesses thriving in Caddo Office Reimagined. We're here to shine a light on the incredible entrepreneurs and professionals who make the most of our private offices, co-working spaces, and day office rentals in the Dallas-Fort Worth suburbs. Join us as we share their stories, celebrate their successes, and dive into the benefits of working in a space that's close to home but offers so much more than working from home. Let's get started with today's conversation. Joining me today on the Caddo Convos is Randy Moser with Moser Tax and Planning, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you're here, Randy.
No, definitely glad to be here. Always interesting to work more with Caddo. I definitely enjoy it here.
Excellent. Same here. Well, let's talk about your business. What is your business and what do you do for your customers?
A lot of my business kind of rolls back to just peace of mind with my clients. I do the standard tax work, but then I also kind of take it a step further. You know, you got kids. Oh, have you taken that child care tax deduction? You know, summer camp counts. Most people, that's a big surprise for them. Even, you know, someone's itemizing, have you purchased a car in the last year? You know, sales tax comes into play. So there's definitely pieces there where I like to make sure clients are getting everything. And also even just new business owners, I work with them a lot, helping them figure out good deductions for them, whether, you know, that business vehicle makes sense for them, because there's a lot to that one. And then a bigger push for me right now is actually tax resolution services. This one gets a little bit more complex. These are, you know, people that owe a good amount of money, maybe, you know, a little procrastinate for a few years kind of clients, but I definitely work through those notices, get everything set up. And then even on top of that, I even do financial planning for clients. And so that piece is really neat because it is a lot of more targeted retirement planning, but also I do, if you have a certain unique situation, the most common one is people coming out of divorce. I've seen that a couple times, or they want to sell the house and they're trying to leapfrog to something else. So there's really a lot there, and it's just working through the client situations where it's natural to have a lot of anxiety. And so kind of getting that peace of mind to them.
So how do you approach business owners or people who are they're in arrears? Is that the right word for multiple years in some cases? How do you approach that and solve that problem?
For small business owners, thankfully the IRS isn't too aggressive, but it's when you have employees and payroll taxes, that's when it gets pretty messy. But it is something where we kind of step through. Bank statements are definitely something we roll through, get that going. I do have some bookkeepers I work with as well. They'll dig into that. The bookkeeping piece I keep outside just because you don't want me trying to do your books trying to do payroll April 15th kind of thing. But once we get those books done, and then we can start getting things filed. And if the situation's right, we can even look at offer and compromise, payment plans, different things to reduce it down. All these things, you know, take quite a bit of time to actually get set up. But, you know, I've had, you know, 2 people in the last week come forward, and between them, it's 7 returns need to be filed. And they're like, I just want to get this taken care of. It's been on my mind. And I understand. And some of it's actually coming to their benefit where they're claiming refunds. It's just they've been too busy.
Yeah. Interesting. So you may not owe.
No, exactly. And I've had some people where they actually just lose their refunds because we can only go back 3 years. So that's another one too, where I've had someone where they got something in the mail they owe for 4 years ago, and they're like, oh, it was just a typo. And so we fixed it, and it was too late to get the refund, but he didn't know. So that was a good outcome there.
The best time is, you know, years ago, but the second best time is right now.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, because it's the IRS it takes their time, but they get there.
Yeah, so they've got more resources than the average Joe like you and I. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, and it's also good to have experience working through those hoops as well, because they're really only interested in collecting taxes. They're not really interested in reducing your taxes for you.
Fair. Well, let's go back to your history. One doesn't wake up and say, I'm going to be, a tax preparer, tax accountant, do all the things that you're doing, Randy. How did you get to where you are?
Moser Tax and Planning itself came into existence about 4 years ago. My mom was my first client.
Of course, that's wonderful. Yeah.
I was in tax prep, and as a CPA, I can't accept money for my work unless I register with the state. There's a lot of requirements around being a CPA, ethics, a whole smorgasbord. And so it got to the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and get this going on the side. It's been one of those situations where the past 4 years I've actually grown organically. So I've been very lucky. I'm up to about 200 clients, and my goal is to keep going as a lifestyle firm. My wife helps occasionally. Maybe I'll get an admin person, but I'm not looking to build an empire as far as that goes. Before that, I did 6 years working for different accounting firms. The first one, 5 years, it was a financial planning firm. And so that's my financial planning background. The last year, that was an associate financial planner. So definitely enjoyed that work. There's a bit of a high stress environment, which kind of happens in accounting. And then from there, I've worked in a boutique tax firm in Dallas, maybe 10 CPAs there. Definitely lots of good information there. And then from there, I worked as a contractor while I was building up Moser Tax and Planning. So I'm about 10 years in there, and before that, about 10 years in IT. So I do try and make sure I use technology to make my life and my clients' lives easier, which is always a big thing.
We all love a story. You mentioned you have 200 customers now. Tell me about someone who went on an interesting journey and are succeeding now.
Oh, definitely. One of my earlier clients, definitely good friends with him still. The mom actually kind of takes care of the son's business. He was an interesting takeoff story, independent music scene, actually. And they filed their first couple years of taxes, and they had some interesting line items in there that the IRS ended up flagging. They were referred through a friend of a friend. And we went through and worked with the IRS. It was a little bit of a challenge. They had a new tool, the upload tool, and I had confirmation, screenshots, and everything. And then a few months go by, and they said they never received it. And then they were really quick to try and close out the case at the end of their window. So we actually had to get that one re-examined, and that one actually was very quick to wrap up once everything was set. Ended up dropping everything down, a good 30, 40 grand in taxes, because he's doing very well in the music scene as far as that goes. That's probably one of my favorite ones, just working through, the IRS. The system isn't always perfect. It's there. People try, the agents themselves aren't the enemy. They're trying to be fair too, but it can take some knowledge to navigate things.
It is government. Yeah.
No, yeah. Probably one of my other favorite ones, and this is one that I've just caught because honestly, I think preparers don't notice this one: forgiveness of debt income. So this is one where somebody comes out of a rough situation and they go through and either they're working with one of the companies that helps them consolidate their credit cards, or it just gets written off directly from the credit card company. Well, if you had $8,000 of credit card debt and it gets forgiven, that's income to you, to the IRS, which might seem a little harsh. And so there's a process and some forms to look at where that can actually be excluded. And so I've had a couple situations where I'm like, hey, have you noticed this? And, oh, I saw this come up. And it's an easy one for people to not catch because you think, oh, I'm in a bad spot. Why would this be income? So they don't include it. And then people come to me with a notice. And I'm like, oh, well, we might have some good news. We just need to go through some paperwork. And so that one's another one that I've seen good outcomes. And, it's an asset versus liabilities. And so one person, we reduced it. We didn't eliminate it. But it depends on everyone's facts and circumstances, as always. It depends.
It depends, right. What would you say is your favorite part about what you do?
My favorite part is just navigating the topics and digging in. A lot of what I do is it's almost pieces of a puzzle, someone's life. I talk to them, get to know them, what's going on. And then from there, it's, oh, well, have you considered this? Have you looked at that piece? And so it's really neat kind of digging in. The financial planning, which I do, it's actually like a half day in depth. I ask pretty much for all your financial records, and then I'll give you tips to move through your life, basically, as far as you should aim for this. Let's try and get this a little bit higher. Short term, let's look at this. Long term, this is where you're headed. Retirees, this is how you spend money. This is kind of how things look. I mean, I don't do investments like buy Pepsi, sell Coca-Cola, but at the same time, being able to tell someone, based off of everything we have here, you're good. Or we might need to look at this a little bit. But being able to really help people navigate those kind of technical pieces and see what's available. Even, oh, you have through your work health insurance, HSA, that's actually one of the, if you really dig into it, it's one of the best benefits out there to dig into that one. So it's really kind of neat just helping people with financial literacy. I might be biased, but I think the schools don't quite do enough. I know it might be a little bit of a dry topic, but once you start living it, it really, really matters.
Right. And currently, Burton, as I'm a parent of three, and plus some three bonus kids. So a lot of kids under my care, I guess you can say.
You just have to say that.
And I hate to say that, but I agree with you only that there isn't a class in school short of once they get into a college level that teaches them any real financial literacy, and the burden's on the parents or ultimately on someone like yourself because they didn't learn it from their parents either, and we're, that's as a business person, just having a balanced air quote checkbook, or accounts is something we all need, and gives us some comfort there. Just knowing where your numbers are, where your dollars are.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. And missed a little bit of my history, but I also taught at Collin for a couple of years, intro to financial accounting.
Wonderful.
And it was important enough to me that I would still take time with the time value of money and even spend a little bit of time to show that. So yeah, it's one of those where they're like, wait, this is really how this works?
Interesting. Just shining a light there. You and I are both Caddo members. Why did you choose Caddo for your office location?
For Caddo, it was one of those where I spent a little time looking around, visited a few different offices, definitely some Caddo competitors. And it was one where Caddo just has so much character going into the office, and all of my clients, almost to a T, you're like, wow, this is really a nice building. They enjoy the atmosphere and the setup. It's not just a concrete four walls with a desk type setup. And so it's really a bit of character. It's also competitive pricing, very competitive. But no, I enjoy the suite. I was able to get my setup there. Everything's been very smooth with all of that. So it's definitely an easy choice once you start looking and doing comparisons, because that's a big thing for business, to change locations, change addresses, all of that. So you don't want to be hopping around. And I also didn't want to be just the work under the tax sign in a strip mall kind of thing. And so there's definitely a professional air to it as well. And I mean, there's also I'm a numbers guy, so it's like, oh, well, the utilities, everything's built in there. So it's a pretty easy decision.
It really is. That's wonderful. Well, I'm glad you're a fellow member. Let's talk about best ways to reach you. Someone's, listening and they're curious, like, how can I do business with Randy?
Yeah, definitely. Good place to start is just mosertax.com, MOSCR tax.com. You can get a good idea about me. And then you can also email me at Randy, RANDY, at mosertax.com. Be sure to let me know where you're coming from. I've actually gotten to the point where I'm only taking referrals from existing clients and professional referrals. So the cold callers, I have a couple friends in the business, but just mention where you're coming from. Be glad to have you.
That's excellent. Parting thoughts for people who don't know what they don't know about their taxes.
Feel free to ask questions, even if it's of your existing tax professional. Part of why I give is I take time with my clients. I call it my 5-minute email rule. If I can answer in 5 minutes, we just take care of it and go. But taxes are stressful. Ask the questions and then really just try and reach that peace of mind area there. So ask the questions. Definitely keep up on those.
Excellent. Well, Randy, it's been a pleasure talking to you today.
No, absolutely, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us on the Caddo Convos podcast. A huge shout out to our incredible network of members for making our community vibrant and supportive. If you're looking to boost your productivity and reduce the isolation of working from home, consider joining us at Caddo Office Reimagined. Our spaces are designed to meet your evolving needs, support remote work, and foster a sense of community that's hard to find at home. Whether you're a startup aiming for growth, a freelancer seeking a professional setting, or a company looking to optimize resources, Caddo offers a perfect blend of flexibility and innovation. By joining us, you'll be a part of a dynamic business ecosystem that helps you thrive. For more information, visit caddooffices.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Caddo Convos.